106.1 ESPN Richmond, live from Northwest Stadium. We just witnessed one of the strangest and most exciting Hail Marys in a long time. And for me, obviously, a first with the situation like that. But the Commanders moved to 6-2, going 18-15, beating the Bears today. As you can tell, I'm a little chilly, trying to make the best of the situation here. But it was a great game in the sense of the result, but I obviously have some grievances, and we'll just jump on the last play because that's all everybody wants to talk about. As we found out in the press conference, there was about 30 different questions, all asking the same thing. What did you think? How did you draw it up? What was the thought process behind it? And hopefully you guys listen to the the sports huddle and the sports phone tomorrow, primarily sports phone, because our guy Nick Gray, I keep laughing because he just gave one of the funniest reactions to what happened. But Jordan and I have different perspectives because Jordan was actually downstairs setting up for this, and then I was in the press box. And so, from my point of view, we couldn't really see the ball when it left his hand, and we didn't know if it made it far enough. And then everybody kind of gathered under the ball, and you just, from my advantage, it looked like a Commanders player that was in the scrum actually tried to get a hold of the ball and tipped it backwards, but not intentionally, but ended up Noah Brown caught it. I know some people were like, "Well, all you got to do is knock it down." It's a difficult situation to be able to knock the ball down when everybody's converging to that one spot. We do see that from time to time. And the real story for me personally is what the Commanders didn't do despite winning today.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, the I told you I would open the broadcast with a poem, an ode, an in memoriam to the betters like me that took the over 43 because it just didn't happen. It was 12-0, I think, at halftime. And obviously yeah, the last play is the main thing. And it got interesting in the second half. Chicago found a way to get past the to get past the to get past the Washington defense. They got in the end zone. They made it count. They took the lead. They scored the 2-point conversion. And really, I mean, and you'll hear later on tomorrow from the guys that we talked to in the locker room, especially on the defensive side of the ball, when they gave up the go ahead touchdown late. It was like, okay, I was just telling they were like, I was just telling guys to keep their head up. I was like, okay, I just kind of figured it was over. We were done for. And then next thing I know, Jayden throws the ball and I just see people running around. And so, yeah, it was definitely, I think it was well worth flexing for the league to move into the 425 spot today.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the 18-15 score we see is because, well, they're still two rookies. They were phenomenal players in their own right, but there were a lot of moments where they played like rookies. And I could be hypercritical of the Bears coming off a bye week, just looking completely unprepared in general. Um, but my real gripe here is that by my notes and by the stat sheet, the Commanders had 481 yards of total offense today. They had one touchdown from Jayden Daniels, I believe. And nobody asked any questions about that. Nobody asked why didn't we blow this team out? And so that for me is kind of my gripe for this game. You won a tough game, and by all means, the team should celebrate that win. I am not a part of the team, so therefore, I am in a position where I can ask these questions and be kind of critical. And I love that Jayden Daniels holds himself accountable and always says it first. We need to be better. I need to be better. And in this particular case, I know the last couple times he said that I've kind of like chuckled at it. In this particular case, I would say yes, but it's specifically in the red zone. This team cannot beat the upper echelon teams by not finishing drives. And they haven't had that problem in the last, 4 to 5 weeks. This could be a one off case here. But, it's is concerning a little hitting into their divisional games because they're going to need to put points on the board.
Oh yeah, yeah. And now you raise a good point because I thought sort of the same thing too. Like, this was the one instance, like the last few games we had seen from this team, especially here at Northwest Stadium. They were blowing the doors off of their opponents and making it look super easy. I mean, yes, we can certainly offer that criticism of the offense for not getting it done in the red zone. The field goal that Seibert chunked that could have extended their lead a little bit, could have put a little more pressure on Chicago there in the closing stages. I mean, just things like that. But for the defense, and you made a good point when we were in the locker room that, this is now the time I think we should be talking about the fact that this defense is something that the league should be taking notice of.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're winning football games for this team. I know every week I feel like we come here when we lead up to games, we say, well, their secondary is not this, their defense not that, yada yada yada. But I mean, this is a Bears team that was the last couple games before they went into their bye week. 24 points, I believe, 30 plus points the 2 games after that, then the bye week, and they come out and they're stifled in the first half. They got held to zero, right? And the defense came through time and time again. The offense didn't pick them up. They gave up one touchdown, and again, they kind of deserve better. And I know there's been some criticism of St. Juice and the rest of these guys, but collectively they played a great game. This is a very talented Bears team. They were coming in on a little bit of a hot streak offensively. And I thought, again, the defense has found a way to have the sum of all parts equal a whole. Individually, they're not that great, right? There's going to be plenty of things we can pick apart when they're individuals, but they play as a unit. They're disruptive together. The front does what they're supposed to do. The linebackers pick them up, and the secondary eats. The times that they dropped back in their pressure and they were just playing a simple zone, the secondary was covering their spots. They were playing great, actually, all things considered. You look at Caleb Williams' stat line. I wrote it down. He was 10 for 24, 131 yards. That's a lot of coverage there. It wasn't all just pressure. I mean, there was some times where they would switch up the tempo a little bit, go man to man, and bring an extra guy. But there were still plenty of opportunity for the Bears to bust a big play. And they kept the windows closed tightly. They took away the first read a lot. Again, this is a well coached team. I can't give Dan Quinn any more credit than I've already given him, man. I mean, this at the end of the day, the Commanders were competitive in this game because of the game plan, because of the coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They had a phenomenal game plan for Caleb Williams. And if you're giving up 100 plus yards to DeAndre Swift, but you're holding Caleb under 200 yards, hey, I'm sorry, that's the recipe to beat the Bears.
And you got to mention the fact too that they managed to come up with a turnover. Granted, they didn't generate the fumble themselves. The Bears sort of they botched the handoff there.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were able to pounce on the ball and get that turnover, they were pinned deep in their own territory though. Still, that was another turning point in the game, especially in the fourth quarter where it could have gone further south. I mean, just think about had Chicago scored there, the ensuing, Washington doesn't come up with any points on the next drive. And then, Chicago goes all the way down the field and scores again and then gets the 2-point conversion. You could have been talking about that Hail Mary could have easily have been for overtime instead of for the win for the Commanders.
So Newton is my player of the game. And I'm being somewhat sarcastic. Like, there's no one person that stood out on the defense, in my opinion. I think they all did their jobs.
Oh yeah.
But Newton's ability to be a disruptor is so pivotal for this team, man. Like when Jonathan Allen went down, I think that was a lot of people's biggest concern. We got a soundbite from our guy Payne talking about just the unit in general. They've all been so disruptive, where the expectation was that there would be some drop off when these younger guys came in, but those younger guys have stepped up. And credit to the scouting department and the guys who did this draft, because they've had from Jayden Daniels down to Newton, their first two picks have been instant game changers for this team, and that's part of the reason why they see themselves at 6-2. Like, they've plugged this guy in for Jonathan Allen. He's actually freed Payne up to be more of a disruptor himself, and like, Luvu and Wagner are playing phenomenal. They ran a little stunt today. I don't know if people can go back and look at it, but it was the sack that Payne got, where they did a little bit of a twisting action and then had a delay with Luvu. Like, just again, some of the stuff that they're doing is just it's just well coached team. It's just a well coached team, and these are the games that, as a fan, you're happy that you won. And when you look back on the season, it'll be one of those games that you've got in your hip pocket that you're glad that you don't have to fight so hard. Maybe in December if you got a couple game lead or something like that. But you want to see again the offense be more efficient. I just can't get over the fact that they had so much opportunity today, so much opportunity, and nothing really to show for it until that Hail Mary, thankfully, because you put a lot of pressure on the team in today's NFL to ask them to hold anybody to under 2 touchdowns, right? So again, I think we have to give this defense a lot of credit, and I know some of the comments were talking about the defensive communication has been improving and so forth. Before I switch to you, there's one other thing I got to call out too. Jayden Daniels was not 100%.
No,
He was not
wasn't.
100%. Even worse, towards the end of the game, he was actually throwing some dirt balls out there, and they were not they were not because he was under pressure or anything. I think the rib injury was a little bit more serious after he took some contact.
Oh yeah.
And I go back to what I said last week. There's no way in this system, in this offense, that he won't get hit. He's got to get hit. Like, they depend on him so much to be 100% and to help them move the ball that honestly, maybe this 18-point thing right here and their issues in the red zone are because he wasn't 100%. And if that's the case, then they really need to figure something else out, because they just can't depend on the total efficiency of their offense on one particular player being able to be the dual threat that he is, man. Like,
Yeah.
they got to get him a little bit more help. I want to see
Yeah.
some more creativity. I felt like they should have been attacking the pylons more with their offensive passing in the red zone. The Bears were sitting in a very comfortable zone. The Bears were attacking them at the corners or the boundaries in the open field, as was one of their adjustments as they were getting further and further down into the game. Why not take that philosophy and put it into the red zone? Attack the boundaries more with your passing attack. Don't be afraid of it. Jayden Daniels has the arm strength to throw downhill, but also throw in some crossing routes. I mean, where was the creativity today in the red zone? That would be one of my other issues.
And I think you got to mention too the fact that they had they did have a touchdown come off the board, and they had a big yardage play also called back due to an ineligible man downfield.
Yeah.
Sam Cosmi called for the penalty twice today, and they had it was Zacchaeus, Olamide Zacchaeus, who went the distance down the sideline for the touchdown. I believe, when was it, the third quarter that happened? And it got called back for Cosme being too far downfield. And so, I think, yeah, the 18 points is a worry, but it could have easily have been 25 or more had they not had to deal with those penalties. And yeah, to your point, I do think, yeah, the offensive concept, I think they figured that Jayden was ready to go. He proved he could play, but they didn't really switch up their offensive scheme a little bit. And that's, like you said, they that the offense is it has to work around Jayden Daniels being mobile. And so, yeah, he's going to take that contact. And I think after he'd proven he could slide some, but at the same time, I think after he had, dove forward, had some guys land on him, he took a big hit running out of bounds. Guy knocked him down pretty good. Got a reaction out of the crowd and everything. But at the same time, yeah, you definitely want to see more from Brian Robinson. You want to see more from Austin Eckler. We saw a great performance today from Terry McLaurin. Zach Ertz got involved as well in the offense and picked up some nice yardage plays for this offense. But yeah, it all comes down to them being effective in the red zone, and that's something, with Philadelphia coming up, with Pittsburgh coming here in a couple of weeks, that they'll be at the Giants next week. That's going to be something that they're going to have to figure out is when they get inside that 20-yard line, they need to get 6 points. They can't just settle for 3
Well,
every
I'll
time.
I'll even go a little bit deeper. It's not even the 20-yard line. It's literally the 10-yard box. Like once they're 10 yards, goal to go, basically. Once they're goal to go, it gets a little stale, right? And I'm sure they'll figure it out at some point. But it, like I said, for me today, it felt like it got a little stale, primarily because Jayden Daniels wasn't 100%. And I go back to watching Marcus Mariota, who's not Jayden Daniels. They were creative enough and able to be pretty fluid in their play calling and their execution. Again, it was against the Panthers. I'm talking about play calling and execution at this point. Doesn't matter who they're playing. Like we need to see it look a lot smoother than what it did. Penalties aside, obviously that's a part of the game, an unfortunate part of the game. And we saw that during the 7 field goal game, that
Yeah.
if they get behind the sticks in the red zone, like if it's goal to go, but you're 15, 20 yards out, they probably end up kicking a field goal. That's something that probably won't be addressed in this year, just because they still have a lot of work to do to get the certain talent that they want around them. But I need to see more Diami. I need to see more Luke. I need to see the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker. I need to see you at least try to protect him from himself if he truly isn't 100%. Not rolling him to Montez's sweat side, man. Like what are we doing? I get that you can't be so one dimensional, but there's still some ways to be more creative than that. Like let's try to keep him out of harm's way as well. And then I guess the last thing is don't boo people for not going for it on 4th and 1 in their own territory, man. Like I'm an aggressive guy myself. I want to see the offense on the field. I hate to think that there's any time that my offense can't get me a yard, right? But the defense has been playing so well. The Bears were literally struggling to get across midfield at one point. Do not set them up easily to get a field goal. But again, phenomenal game plan from the start to the finish for the defense. The pass interference was pass interference, unfortunate, but I mean they held them to one touchdown, man, or two touchdowns, but they held them for the majority of the game, and I can't be too mad about that. But Commanders are 6-2,
They are
right?
6-2,
Six
and
and two. Nobody definitely predicted that. I don't think
no,
anybody predicted
no,
that.
no, and they're keeping pace with the Eagles. The Eagles beat the brakes off the Bengals
Eagles look
today.
good.
So yeah, it's shaping up to be another battle between Philadelphia and Washington for the NFC East. And surely, I feel confident that at least two teams, at least Washington and Philadelphia, are going to end up in the postseason.
So looking ahead, they'll have the Giants next week at MetLife. Those games, those games are typically like all the NFC East games are typically a little difficult on the road.
Yeah, the game at New York is more particularly a trap game than
Obviously,
anything.
the issue is going to be that the last time they played the Giants, they had no answer for Malik Neighbors. It was
Yep.
Malik Neighbors getting the ball, we're lining them up, and here it goes. And at the end, thankfully, Malik Neighbors dropped the pass because I really feel like they were on their way to winning that game. I will say that this version of the Commanders now is significantly better than the Commanders team that beat the Giants, right? This is a more confident team. And despite what we saw today, 481 total yards, right? If you can give me 481 total yards on any other day, I'm pretty sure you're going to get me at least 30 points, right? So I'm not down on them. I'm not docking them any points. I'm just saying we have passed the point where we're giving them the well, they're still playing with house money talk, and we're at the point now where we want to see you look like a playoff team. a playoff contending team, right? Because you are contending for the playoffs. So we need to shore this stuff up. We need to have cleaner wins, right? Cleaner wins. And I'm sure with a little bit of rest and maybe not getting hit as much next week, Jayden Daniels will be right for this next swing because it's Giants, Steelers, Thursday night game against the Eagles, and then the Cowboys come in to Northwest Stadium as well. Four key games that honestly, if they win three or if they win all four, they're pretty much set to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and even if they end up going 2-2, that puts them at 8-4.
Yeah,
which isn't terrible,
no,
but you have to expect that Philadelphia in that stretch is probably going to end up going 3-1.
yeah,
And so it's going to be even tighter in the division race. But yeah, this stretch, this next month. And I mean, and I think after that Dallas game, they finally have their bye week. Their bye week isn't until
it's like week 14.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty late.
So it's they're going to have to grind it out here over the next 4 to 7 weeks just to get to that bye week. And who knows? By the time they get there, they may pretty much already have a postseason spot locked up, and then they can sort of turn their attention in the last 3-4 weeks of the season to okay, maybe we can rest one or two guys a week as we move forward, just to make sure that we're as fresh as we can possibly be when playoff time comes around.
5 for 15 from third down. Just can't happen. I maybe we should end it because I'm gonna keep criticizing. Like it just got to be cleaner. That's all. Just got to be cleaner. 481 yards is great. 18 points is mid. 5 for 15 is unacceptable on third down.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that's a good spot to end it. Yeah, we've been yapping for about 20 minutes, and yeah, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Raisin Hail, the Commanders post game wrap. We will be here for every
Home game.
the rest of the season and potentially postseason. We'll see what happens. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks for waiting for us. We were not super late this time. We beat them rolling the tarp on the field.
It was chaos, man.
But yeah, I think we've got a workflow that works, and yeah, just keep an eye out. ESPN Richmond now has a YouTube channel. It's what is it? YouTube.com
Yeah,
slash.
it'll be ESPN Richmond. We'll get it's 24 hours to live stream, but we'll post this on the YouTube channel tomorrow. All of our programming tomorrow on 106.1 ESPN, the Sports Huddle, I keep going sports huddle. The sports phone, the sports huddle, border to border, even me on the backdoor cover. If you want to hear any more insight or hear some of our stuff that we got from the locker room, you can listen in live, download the 106.1 ESPN Richmond app, or check our Instagram out at ESPN Richmond. He'll be posting some of those interviews and clips from there as well. And we'll also talk about the press conference because we had Noah Brown, Coach Quinn, and our guy, Jayden Daniels.
Yeah. At least they said that Noah Brown was going to the podium. I have to go back and look at my footage just to make sure nobody hit not to record that part. But we'll see.
And Jayden Daniels, I've got a clip I'll post on him in the next like 5 minutes on our Instagram. The best personality ever. Just the best.
He's still young. He's still young. He's gonna really mature into this role.
Look forward to seeing it.
So, all right, y'all. We're out of here. We got a long drive back to Richmond, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you in a couple of weeks when the Steelers are in town. And again, make sure you're tuned in tomorrow all day long from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And we'll have you all covered with all things Commanders. So thanks again for tuning in. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk to you soon.